because it's a topic that my guest, once she moved into the Bible Belt, realized was taboo, and not really for really good reasons, because sometimes topics that are taboo, when they're a main part of our lives, they get stigmatized, and then we don't talk about them, and then they develop mindsets that are not really healthy, either in our, to us as individuals or as couples. 1 out of 3 women, and she can correct me if I'm wrong on these stats, 35 to 65 years old, have a low sex drive and low sex desire. It is the number one problem for women over the age of 35 when they go to a marriage or sex therapist. And the main thing, and this is what I love about Karisa Kaye, the main thing she wants to get across to women, whether they get something specific out of this conversation or not today, is she just wants you to understand that once you understand about yourself, you're not broken. Did I do that right, Karisa Kaye?
Yes, you did, Clint Powell.
What's up?
Well done. Hi, thank you.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, let's get this that way real quick. Let's get this out of the way. I love your earrings.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Continue on, kind lady.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so let me just tweak a little something you shared.
Yeah.
The stats, the number one problem in women over 35 in long-term relationships.
There you go.
Seeking out sex therapists is diminished desire. The number one problem.
Well, and that's an important caveat, right? I mean, that's a big deal. If you're wanting to have a really healthy long-term relationship,
Yes.
and that becomes your number, it's not like you're dead at 35 or 40. It's not
I
like,
hope not.
well, you know what I'm saying? You're like,
Yeah.
well, there's got a few years left. No, you're all, you got another 40 years of life.
Absolutely.
And you want to try to make it as good in every area as possible.
Absolutely.
So let's get this out of the way. You have mentioned this to me before in other conversations, and then we're going to drive straight into, because you said you had basically 15 reasons, right?
At least. Yes.
At least.
Yes.
So we're going to address the low sex drive in women, long-term relationships, and it can be emotional, it can be history, it can be physical. But you've mentioned that talking sex here in the South is a little difficult, is it not?
Yes, which is why I'm really thankful that you were gracious enough to even let me talk about this on your podcast today, because I think there's such a huge need. And I have so many clients, faith-based and not faith-based, that regularly come in and say, we're not sure where to go to get educated on this in a healthy place. Like, what are some healthy resources? So one of my passions is I want to be available as a healthy resource and educator in the area of sexuality that people can reach out to and say, hey, this is what's going on. Is there anything about me that might make sense? Am I broken beyond repair? Is there hope? Can things get better? And usually the answer almost every time is yes, of course.
Well, and two, that's an important part. You do have your practice is based out of faith.
Yeah.
You don't preach to people, but sometimes I think we think that because we're Christians, we can't have these conversations around sex. Like, God does not want us to be fulfilled and satisfied. Now, your money, give that to God, and your relationships and how you communicate, give that to God, and your business, give that to God. How about your sex life? Shh.
Yeah, I think people of faith, if we're truly walking in God's design, I think we should be having the best sex of anybody.
There you go. I think there's stats out there that prove that too. I think there's stats out there that say,
okay.
I'll have to look that up. I heard that on a podcast.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right. You ready? How do you want to do this? Do you want to dive into the emotional? Do you want to start through a list? I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay.
How do you want to do it?
Start by saying thanks again for having me. I hope that this proves to be a blessing to both partners involved in a relationship. Men are just as important in the diet as ladies are, for sure. So
I will be chiming in from time to time.
Yes, and
to us fellows.
when we were brainstorming this, I was really excited about some of the things you had to share as a man.
Yeah.
For other men, I thought it was beautiful. So we're going to get into that. But there are numerous reasons why somebody struggles with desire. Women stereotypically are more complex in our sexuality than men are, stereotypically. We're just wired different. And so female sexuality is still very new in culture and understanding. Most of culture is based around a stereotypically heterosexually male model of sex. So a lot of this is going to kind of be foreign for people. But most women when they come into my office, say, I'm not in the mood. I've lost my drive. I'm not feeling it anymore. And once they start telling me a lot about either their health, their story, maybe there's some grief going on, depression, anxiety, relationship issues, resentment, et cetera, maybe their lack of foreplay, a lot of things start to make sense, and women realize they aren't broken. They're just some missing pieces. So I want to start to help people put some pieces together in the puzzle today.
Well, and two, one of the things that we talked about when we were on, offline, is how much this topic, especially, is tied into our egos, and especially for dudes,
Yeah.
and I think women's too. Women want to feel wanted and desired, and so do men, right?
Yes.
And sometimes when you have these conversations, and if you don't know how to remove your ego, which I'm not sure it's really possible, or at least keep it in check.
Yeah.
If you don't encourage your partner to sit down and go, okay, here's some stuff we need to work on, or here's some stuff I'm working on that has nothing to do with you. If you can't remove your ego, then all of a sudden you've made it again about not the problem, but you're the problem, and you'll never get resolution because, well, why aren't you happy with our sex?
Yes.
Well, maybe your sex really has nothing to do with you. Maybe there, like you said, maybe there's health issues or baggage, right? Ego is a problem.
Ego is a problem. And to that, I'll mention, I think ego oftentimes is connected to vulnerability or fear of vulnerability. So I've never been a man. You can speak more to this. I think men often, even as I've coached in the weightlifting world and in CrossFit, the ego tends to get in the way more with men in trying to coach men and help men than it does women. That's not always true. I can have a big ego myself. But I think vulnerability, when we feel really vulnerable and we're afraid of rejection, or we're afraid that somebody might leave me if or when, that's when our ego can get in the way. And we start playing defense, or we get puffy, or we have our fight or flight response, et cetera, et cetera. So to have these conversations, I think, my goal for couples is that they're regularly talking about their love life, but a lot of people don't know the language to even use or where to start because it's never been modeled for them. And because this is one of the most vulnerable parts of a human being, if I don't know how to navigate that vulnerability, we're just not going to talk about it. We're going to avoid it.
Well, think about it. By the time, supposedly, and we're talking long-term relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time that you have truly become vulnerable, you've let down the facade of your emotions and your personality. Here's my flaws. And now I have no barrier of clothes. We are completely as vulnerable as two people can get.
Yes.
And if you reject me on any level, I am very conscious of the facial expressions. I'm very conscious of the touch. I'm very conscious of your body. Are you tense? Are you relaxed? And I am going to run that through my filter of my past relationships, my insecurities, my ego, and I'm going to process it like a computer and goes up and she's not happy, or up and I'm doing everything perfect. And in reality, neither one of those are probably 100% true.
That's right, because you have two complex human beings trying to make this work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It gets, and if you don't have these conversations, I wrote this down. There's a difference between checking in a healthy way about your sex life when it's not a problem.
Right.
Which I'm not sure how to do that. I've never been taught how to, hey, let's talk about our sex when sex isn't the problem. It's good if it's good. Well, maybe until it's not good anymore. And then you don't talk about it because you have no habits of talking about it.
Yes.
So the healthy conversations versus needy, because that can also be a problem. What, are you okay? Was that good? Everything happy?
Oh, needy for reassurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be a problem too. Sometimes that's not a healthy conversation. That's a selfish conversation.
Absolutely. Yes.
Also, all right. I think I've done enough of my intro. Now it's all yours. You're the pro.
Okay, so let's talk about it. I don't know if I should just start listing all the reasons.
I would.
Okay, so
and I'll chime in.
Okay, so first reason I have here, let's start with health issues. Let's talk about biology. So where a woman is at in her human growth and development, hormones, overall health, overweight, underweight, healthy weight. Is she living an active lifestyle or sedentary lifestyle? Is she on any kind of medications? Is she on any kind of supplements? SSRIs are known to decrease desire. A lot of women right now need or are on medication for anxiety and or depression. Well, most of those, besides Wellbutrin, stereotypically decrease libido for women. All right. So depression, anxiety medications, hormones. Is she on birth control? Birth control, almost every. I haven't met somebody who started birth control and has ever had increased libido. A lot of women are on birth control, and that really tanks. I'm actually kind of outwardly spoken about being pretty against hormonal birth control, and that gets controversial in the field of medicine, at least Western medicine. But birth control almost always increases anxiety or depression in women and decreases libido, and oftentimes there's weight gain. So for women, if a woman has a poor image, poor body image, poor energy, often that's connected to birth control and other health issues. But those are some of the top variables that influence a woman's sense of confidence and being in the mood. And so, go ahead, Clint. You look like you have lots of.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
listening. This is
okay.
me. This is me soaking it in.
Okay, so body image for women. If I don't feel good in my skin and I don't feel good in the way that I look naked, I'm not going to want to get naked in front of my partner and offer, "Hey, come on, join me and let's play naked and experience
Well,
pleasure together."
if I'm not standing, if I'm avoiding the mirror, I'm probably going to avoid you too. You know
Yes,
what I'm saying? Well,
absolutely.
and one thing I wanted to write down, because I am going to chime in on the guys'
Yeah.
behalf, and most guys know this anyway, but my job is to say it. If you doubt the impact of hormones and energy, right now the stat of low testosterone in men ages 25 plus is like tenfold compared to what it was 50 to 100 years ago. Whenever they started checking it, it's really high.
Yeah.
So as you get older, I'm almost 50. Holy mackerel, I'll be 54. Yeah, in a month. In about a month, I'll be 54. And so as you get older, low T is a real thing. And I have no problem talking about it. People have it, because my theory is I'd rather find the problem and fix it than just live with the problem and live in that. And so if you've ever been really tired, if you've ever had hormone issues with low T and you're a dude and you dismiss how that can impact a woman, that's being a little hypocritical. Hormones are powerful things. Do you remember your kids going through puberty, boys and girls? Hormones are crazy things, and they can affect people really bad and
I would
really good.
absolutely. I would argue the most powerful chemical messengers in our body.
Yeah.
It literally impacts mood. Am I irritable? Am I snarky? Am I depressed? Am I anxious? Am I fixated on something? Obsessive thinking, compulsive behaviors to try and calm my brain down because maybe my estrogen's too high or my testosterone's too low. If my testosterone's too high, I might feel aggressive. I mean, there's hormones are so powerful.
Do
So
you suggest your clients always go to the doctor when they're feeling
yeah,
like that and get their hormone levels?
yes. Every time people come in, if they will, I'm like, I need you to get a blood panel done, and I need to know that your thyroid's where it needs to be, and your sex hormones are where they need to be, because we can do great therapy all day long, but if those little chemical messengers are working against the process every day, you're going to stay stuck and frustrated. So yes, every female, especially late 20s and onward, should have a regular hormone panel done.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of women are lack progesterone. Progesterone is the calming sex hormone for women. It makes me feel better. I don't want to rage all the time. I'm not really irritable. It helps me sleep better. Right. So that's going to get into the other things we're going to talk about that influence low desire. But if I'm not getting enough sleep because maybe my progesterone's whack or I can't stay asleep, women going through perimenopause, postmenopause, pregnancy, having periods, all of those have to do with hormones and hormonal fluctuation. You talk to any female, and most of them are going to say, listen, I was not in the mood. I wanted to tear my skin off. I couldn't sleep at night. I had hot flashes. Don't touch me. I mean, that in itself is a testimony to the power of hormones in the female body.
Hear you describe that, and then all of a sudden I'm a guy going, "Hey, come over here for a minute." They're like, "Stay the hell away from me, for God darn it! This shirt is making my skin hurt. I don't want you
Yes.
near me right now."
Yes. And some guys, it's funny because I have some guys that I work with around, I don't do the testosterone, but they're working with a practitioner and trying to get their testosterone higher. Well, some men will have a spike in their estrogen if they don't have an estrogen blocker or it's not being taken care of appropriately. So they start to get a lot of the stereotypical female symptoms of high estrogen, which is moodiness, irritability, hyper emotional, taking things personal. And then I'll say, what's it like to be a chick?
Yeah.
How's it feel to like get in touch with that X chromosome?
Well, a lot of times that's why, and not all of, not the all the reason, but a lot of times when a lot of people are on steroids, you've heard of roid rage. A lot
Yes.
of that times it's because you haven't checked your estrogen because it just doesn't raise one hormone; it's raising the whole panel.
Yes.
So start with your doctor.
Yes.
And dudes, I suggest this for you. Sex isn't just one way. So if you're feeling tired and you're having issues, I always start with the doctor. Ed Jones at Nutrition World has some supplements, but he also works with a doctor over there that can help and he can recommend you to. But so start with the doctor.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So guys that I work with that are in their late 20s and 30s that are having erectile dysfunction or low libido, a lot of the time their testosterone is bottomed out.
Yeah. And
Yep.
what happens is if you start feeling hopeless about that, what you don't understand, you go to the right doctor, you're 90 days away from getting your hormones leveled out and you're going to live a better life.
Yes. Amen. Quality
All
of life. That's why we're doing this. Okay. So health issues. Those are just
Yeah.
some of the real broad. Again, every human is different. And so like I'm about to do a symposium in the spring or the early spring, like February, with some OBGYNs in the area, breast cancer and GYN cancer survivorship. So we're going to be talking about if you've gone through breast cancer treatment, if you've gone through GYN cancer treatment, all of those things are going to impact your desire and your libido. So women need to really be aware of how much, again, our sexual experience is moderated by what's in between our ears, our brain. Our mind is our most powerful, but the rest of our body as well, and how I feel in my body, and then how my body actually feels physically. So there's so many different variables health wise or physically that can impact me as a woman and thus impact whether or not I'm going to be in the mood with my partner.
Yeah. I think guys sometimes think of sex as it's the guitar solo and the rock band, and women, it's an orchestra. It's a bits and pieces of a bunch of stuff. And if you don't
Yes.
learn how to play it or at least appreciate the orchestra, your guitar solo is going to be great every now and then, but you're going to miss the boat a lot.
Love it. Perfect segue. So I will mention this is a big one as well. Lack of foreplay.
Yeah.
Lack of foreplay. So women on average need 10 to 40 minutes of lead up to intercourse to be appropriately turned on, lubricated, and aroused. The average amount that a couple touches is 5 minutes before intercourse.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
yeah.
we talked about this. This is again one of those offline conversations, and I say it's. I try to make all these analogies kind of simple brained for me as possible. But listen, if you're playing sports, you put on your uniform and you stretch and you warm up, right? When you get up in the morning, you drink your coffee, you got your little routine before you go start your day. We all have these things we do in life that before we let your car warm up when it's cold out because you just want to get in and drive it. And we know all this, and then we come to this topic and we say, oh, by the way, we need to warm this up a little bit as far as the relationship. We need to ease into it. And guys are like, a lot of guys are like, okay, let's get to it. And I'm like, the car's not ready.
So Clint, let's back up to the car. In the winter, how long do you typically let your car warm up?
I mean, it depends how cold it is, right? Yeah, 10, 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you were playing sports, how long did warm up take?
My warm up, I would start warming. I would start warming up 30 minutes, probably 45 minutes to an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Esther Perel, I've shared this before on here, and I'll just use it till the day I'm done practicing. The last orgasm is when the first bit of next foreplay begins. So foreplay is an all day, every day occurrence.
Okay, I got you.
Relational.
Yeah.
It's interactional. The way that I talk to you, the way that I touch throughout the day. So couples that this is more and more common, and a lot of people listening in long-term relationships will probably relate. Couples that don't touch during the day have less sex. Couples that touch more during the day and regularly talk about their sex life have more sex, more satisfying sex. So if we're kind of doing the loving touch all day long and like come by and like stroke your cute bald head, or you rub my back, or smack my butt, or give you a kiss, or hug on you and hold.
Or just hold hands while you're driving down the road. Hooking pinkies.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Your body all day long and your brain all day long is being primed to connect. So intercourse and moving towards intercourse is not, or whatever your version of sexual activity is, not necessarily intercourse even, is going to feel more natural than the car is frozen.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we're like supposed to run it hot.
You know, in sales training, we tell salespeople the sales process starts from the moment you start talking. It's not when you ask for the close.
Yes.
It's all the little ebb and flows of conversation,
Yes.
whether it's during a 1 day or a 1 month process. And it just makes sense when you think about this. We call it closing between the buys, right? So if the only time I'm talking to Karissa as a sales rep is when I need money from you, then there's no relationship there. But if I'm checking in with Karissa before I'm asking her if she wants to spend more money, you
Yeah.
know me. It's
Yes.
funny when we say these things like, well, of course, if I'm holding my wife's hand or if I'm slapping her on the butt or if I'm asking her, learn, hey, and this is bringing those conversations back that we've had. If I'm learning to speak her love language, if I'm doing these things,
Yeah.
that's the sex part, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all part of great sex, actually, and connected sex. But for so many women, again, there's not enough foreplay. Male sexuality stereotypically tends to move faster. Stereotypically. So guys, if they're actively thrusting, take 2 to 3 minutes to orgasm. Women, if they're going to orgasm with penetration, can take anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I see a discrepancy there.
there's a little bit of a discrepancy. So warm up for women. So I work a lot with sexual pain in women. So women that are having pain with sex, and there are lots of different reasons. A huge reason.
Hey, real quick, are you rubbing something close to the mic? Yeah, there we go. There we go. No, you're okay. So anyway, you work with women with sexual pain.
They're having pain with sex. Women should not be having pain with sex. So I hope that the people that listen to this, you should not be having pain regularly with sex. If you are, you need to come talk to me. You need to talk to some pelvic floor therapists. We want to help you. You do not have to have pain with sex. But so many women are having pain with intercourse because there's not enough warm up. So the vagina, the walls on the inside are like this. When arousal happens, it allows it to do this, vasodilate, fill with blood, and all the fun lubrications that the good Lord's designed our body to use, and welcome in whatever's going to be welcomed in. So when there's not enough warm up, those walls stay like this or kind of like this, and then you put a penis in there or whatever is being used, it's not going to feel very good.
Yeah.
So for foreplay, kissing, I always tell guys, if it's a heterosexual couple, start from her head and work your way down. Engage with her, kissing, touch other parts of her body that aren't erectile tissue or genitalia, and then eventually work towards that, but check in with her.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I think we forget the largest organ of our body is our skin. And the skin is, the skin is all connected. And, it's just amazing sometimes that we neglect.
Yes.
In our brain, we have, those are the 3 best spots. And in women, they're like, I remember it's probably like 10 other ones you haven't even checked on.
John Mayer's Your Body is a Wonderland is gold. And so literally there are 3 different erogenous zones all throughout the human body. And there are maps all over the internet. I'm trying to put something together for a dissertation around this. But there are 3 different levels of erogenous zones placed all over the human body.
Yeah.
And those are fun playgrounds for people who will take time to slow down and explore that.
That's it. And I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I think sometimes it's really difficult when you do get hormones involved. If you as a dude will just say, you know what, all I'm going to do is explore. This is the exploration session. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's therapy probably around this where it's everything but intercourse.
Yes.
We're just going to let you watch her face and let her tell you when you are touching the right spot.
Yes.
And once you know the map, dude, that's way better than thinking you know the map and be taking all the wrong turns. You're getting lost, man.
Thank you. And that's what makes me sad is so many guys, guys that are decent human beings. Excuse me for that. I mean, because there are some
there's a lot of us decent human beings.
I know. But those who care about their partner's experience actually find the most erotic thing for them is a sexually aroused female partner. So for the woman to be turned on,
absolutely.
Every man I've met, they're like, I don't care if she's overweight, if she's sexually turned on, that turns me on more than anything.
Yeah.
So to really care about your female partner's experience, you're gonna have to pay attention. You're gonna have to allow her to tell you what feels good, what feels pleasurable. It's probably gonna feel better, or feel different than what feels good for you as a male, and that's okay. You just be a student of one another and check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's again, I hate to keep bringing it back to stuff, but it's the same way of communicating with people like you think they like to be communicated with. Like if I like to be talked to this way, I'm sure Carissa loves it too. And in reality, Carissa may go, I hate to be talked to
Yeah.
that way.
Quit cussing at me. Quit
Yeah,
yelling at me. I know
I
that's
know
how you
you
like
wouldn't
it.
mind the cousin. Stop it.
Stop.
I'm just
Hateful. All
I
right,
am.
let's
All
move
right.
on. Okay, so we've talked about physical factors. We've talked about a lack of foreplay.
Yeah.
Now, something else I'll mention around foreplay is a lot of the times when I ask couples about foreplay, I'll say, "So what's going on with that?" And they'll say, um, "Well, not much, blah blah blah." And usually there are a lot of intimacy problems that show up diagnostically because foreplay requires intimacy.
So I want to say it back to you and make sure I heard what you said. So you're saying that the foreplay issue, there or lack thereof, usually is a symptom of something that's bigger in the relationship. That's probably relational communication, something deeper than just the foreplay. It's not really about the foreplay.
Or just intimacy and vulnerability.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to slow down and really pay attention to you, that's going to intensify the experience a lot more than just wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So a lot of people that are avoiding foreplay are avoiding a deeper level of intimacy and vulnerability.
I think this is why you have the not just the sex therapist or the marriage therapist. It's really hard to pull those two apart because once you get in a long-term relationship, these are all twisted together. How you
Perfect.
talk to me in the kitchen is going to be a reflection of what you want to do on the couch or the bed later.
%. You can't be rude to me and disrespectful and dismissive and invalidating and expect all of a sudden I want to give you my body.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. So relationship issues. That's a great one. That could be stage of relationship. It could be people if there have been affairs like betrayal, trauma in relationships. That's a thing.
Right.
Let's see, bad or boring sex. Right. So couples that aren't communicating about what they'd like. One of the exercises I love doing with couples is brakes and accelerators. So getting real and honest with each other about what turns me on and what turns me off. And I coach them to gently disclose that in session together because that can feel very vulnerable. So bad or boring sex.
And that's where you need to put that ego aside and take it as
Mhm.
I care about you enough to actually
Mhm.
put something out there that's pretty deep to me, pretty important.
Yeah, and be curious. It's hard, because depending on how secure or insecure the relationship is, if you come at me and say, "Hey, actually, Chris, I've always wanted to try this," and if I'm feeling insecure, I might get really defensive and, "Well, why? But is it not good enough?" Versus, "Okay, well, tell me about that. Like, why does that sound exciting? What about that sounds intriguing? Why is that important to you?" And trying to take a posture of curiosity can be very helpful for those conversations.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this is an interesting one. Miscalibrated intimacy and desire. So sometimes that can look like accumulated resentments, anger, and power struggles. Oftentimes, like division of labor or child rearing. Like, hey, you don't help me out enough around the house, and it's really upsetting me. You're always a slob, or you're so OCD I can't relax. Or raising children, I do all the work and you're not showing up. Now I'm resentful towards you, and no, I don't want to give you sex because you haven't been showing up for me in all these other ways in the relationship.
Love languages. Love languages are important. They should call those the sex languages because really, really, I think how you talk to each other well before you get in the bedroom, like you said, all leads to it. And that's really true. We see these funny videos all the time or the memes where the woman, and it can be the man, insert your stereotype here. I don't give a damn. But where somebody looks and sees the dishwasher's been emptied and they're like, that's the meme around that's sexy to some people. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have to do the laundry today.
totally.
Well,
Totally.
looky here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting. So some couples are actually too close, and that can actually diminish desire as well. So some couples, like if all they have is each other, we just talked about this last weekend in the PhD stuff. They said if you're too close or too distant, there's like this art or this balancing act between a couple to keep sexual attraction alive. But if I'm too close to you and you become like my buddy or my best friend and my brother, or I'm nurturing you and I'm kind of parenting you out of your trauma, you're not really my lover anymore. Now you're like my son or my daughter.
I'm a parent or a therapist or a buddy, and you've been friend zoned almost in your marriage.
Yes. So that
Yeah.
happens, actually. That happens. People come in and they're like, I'm just not feeling it. And then when you get into the psychology of it, it's like, well, of course, because you don't want to have sexual intimacy with you know, a family
A
member.
buddy.
Right, a
Yeah.
buddy. Yeah. So let's see.
Well, but can I ask about that a little bit?
Sure.
Is this is this a good place to insert? This is why it's important to have hobbies and go see your friends. And I'm not saying you can't have hobbies with your spouse or your partner, but hobbies are something that pulls you in a direction where it's your stuff that you can share with them, but it's a time away.
Yes. Remember, you and I a few podcasts ago talked about the reasons why people married back in the day, and I had 37 kids, and
Yeah, I had painted a pretty dire picture for you.
my uterus was falling out and
You're
prolapsing.
you were just tired all the time.
Yes.
I know what anybody would have been doing back then. That's why they had so many kids.
But the idea was back then you had neighbors or you had chores or you had tasks away from one another
Mm-hmm.
that kept you in your own space, in your own individuality. And then at the end of the day or during the day, you could come back together and be like, well, hey. And it was like a treat or a kind of a novelty for your brain to reconnect.
Right.
But if all, like for example, let's use the pandemic. A lot of couples ended up working together from home for the last 2 years. And
Yeah.
people have not actually had more sex in the last 2 years. They have tried different things sexually, but there hasn't been more or less sex. And there was kind of a spike in pornography use, but nothing extreme like we thought there might be. So people being in closer quarters and closer proximity all day, every day, actually didn't really increase.
These old quotes that we've had and we dismiss, absent makes the heart grow fonder, is a real thing sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's why, if you're dating and you're on, and especially if you're out of town dating, if I'm only seeing you twice a month, 4 times a month, every time we get together, it's an adventure.
It's a honeymoon.
And then you get married, and I've seen you on a Wednesday in your pajamas, and you smell bad, and I'm like, hey, what the hell? And you're like, oh, we're not meeting at Buckhead anymore, man. We're not, we're not. So that's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Yes.
I can't help it. That's life.
So then to that, Esther Perel, she has a great book about what's it called? It's something, the erotic, mating in captivity. She talks about keeping the erotic alive in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
You're too funny. She talks about how when we're dating and we're looking forward to seeing our partner. I'm sorry, what the hell? It's a Wednesday.
Yeah,
But she talks about when you're dating and we are unconsciously or consciously preparing to come together and play naked or get excited about sex later with the person. Like, oh, I get to see my person later. I'm going to shave my legs. I'm going to put on this cute outfit. I'm thinking about it. I'm anticipating what I want to do, how I want to do it, what I want to say. But when we get into long-term relationships in captivity, we stop being so deliberate around planning for intimacy or planning for romance. So then it starts to die out. And her whole thing is, it's not that it couldn't still be awesome and erotic and fabulous. You just need to go back to that habit of being intentional about it, being mindful about it, being planning for it, doing what you were doing while you were dating.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a fine line between, I think, being spontaneous and having a little spontaneity is awesome. I think you got to have that. And then you got to have those moments where, like, the kids are going to bed, and at 9:00, I am going to treat you like we were dating.
Yes.
You got to walk that fine line.
Yes.
My problem is when it only becomes one or the other is when somebody's probably getting starved out, not fed well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so
Sorry, I threw you with my Wednesday.
No, it's just I love when you do your Southern. What the hell?
Well, I'm like, here's what's funny. When you're dating and you're not around each other literally 7/24, them brushing their teeth, and you're like, she is even hot when she's brushing her damn teeth. How does that work? 5 years later, you're like, I hate the way they sound when they're brushing their teeth. Can you just wait till I'm out of the bathroom? What the hell is wrong with you? That's part of a relationship.
Give me my space. Yeah.
But you got to go into it with a little. That's why I said you got to pull the ego apart and realize at the same time they're looking at you when you eat your toast. Like, I just want to put his face in the butter. Just.
Oh my God. So that's when you call me and say, let's talk about contempt and resentment and bitterness.
Why does she hate the toast? I don't
Yes.
understand.
But for real, sometimes, like, this sounds silly, but that's why, for me, like, bathroom stuff, I'm like, don't go to the bathroom in front of each other. Don't keep your bodily functions, like,
Absolutely.
yeah, like, don't get so that I'm different. Like, some couples are fine with that and they're cool with that. I personally, it's gross to me. And so my thing is to keep romance alive and to keep come with that, hey, you're my lover, not a brother.
We're
Right?
not living in a dorm room. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, just little things like that. I have so many. Oh my goodness, bless them. I have a lot of ladies that come in. They're like, my husband like farts in front of me. He belches in front of me. He eats like a caveman in front of me. I'm like, you would never do that on a date. Don't get lazy just because you have somebody now. Like, keep
Yeah.
up the, hey, I want to impress you and bring you my best.
Yes. That is something that I'm 100% on the same page
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of treating somebody with, I think, respect and dignity. And hey, I want you to remain attracted to me. So I'm going to do my part to remain attractive.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Let's see what else. So we have insomnia. That can majorly decrease sex hormone production in both men and women. So not sleeping, that's a big problem for Americans. Are lots of reasons why people are struggling with insomnia nowadays, but bad sleep hygiene. That's why vacation sex is a fun phenomenon, is because people go away, they unplug, they rest. And when we're resting, we're digesting, our sex hormones are doing what they do in terms of going back to the levels we need them to be at. Blood pools to the extremities, our metabolism resets, all sorts of fabulous stuff happens when
And more than likely, you're not on this stupid thing all the time when you're on vacation, which is your phone.
Yeah.
If you're on vacation and you're at the beach, you may be on your phone, but when you're at dinner, after you've taken a picture of the sunrise and all that crap or sunset,
yeah.
but I'm just saying you're disconnecting from things, and it's easier to feel connected to the person you're with.
Yes. Thank you,
Kathy Winkler. Great show. Thank you, Kathy.
Do you know? I don't know Kathy. Do you know Kathy?
I do. Yeah. I went to high school with her. Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy, for the feedback. The insomnia. So sleep hygiene is something that's really big for sexual function and weight loss, weight gain, stress management, emotional regulation, mood management. I mean, sleep I could go on for hours about. I love good sleep.
How many hours do you have to get a night, by the way?
Women on average need 8 to 9.
How about you?
I'm chronically sleep deprived. So when I go on vacation, I was just talking to the gentleman I'm seeing the other day about this. When I go on vacation, for the first 2.5, 3 days, I sleep a lot and my whole body resets and I wake up like a new human.
Yeah.
But if I was taking care of myself, I'd be going to bed at 10 every night and getting up at 7 or 8 in the morning. I need a lot.
Okay. I was just checking in.
How much do you need?
Need or get? What's the question?
Need.
Oh, I probably need between 7 and 9.
You do?
Yeah, I probably need that. Yeah.
Okay.
I get about, I don't know, I get more now because I take my melatonin and my GABA from Ed Jones, but I probably get 6 to 7. I'm up every morning by 5:30, like clockwork.
You are.
Yeah.
You're an early riser.
Yeah.
Yep. So sleep is huge. Stress. So the reason Dr. Lori Mintz, she wrote a book called Becoming More Cliterate. Very good book. What? It's good. It
is funny. I just like how you say it like I'm in the South and I'm going to say it with confidence. Damn it.
Clit. She's got great stuff in there about the clitoris and the vulva and how to pleasure it, the anatomy. And she talks about what is it? Too busy, too stressed. Too busy, too stressed, and what was the third piece? But those are the top reasons why women aren't in the mood. They're too busy, they're too stressed, they're distracted. I've also heard in other research, again, body image and energy are huge for women. So if I don't know,
which we talked about at the beginning, body. But you know, real quick, the too stressed thing is, I think we've always been stressed, but I feel like in our society right now, because we're, the news cycles are every 12 seconds, but because of things like our phone, and because now kids don't just play one sport through seasons, they play 4 sports year round, and everything is getting amplified and ramped up. I think our stress level, I think that is the chronic disease that that's affecting us everywhere.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think it wears us down like the river and the rock. I think it just wears us down. River and the rock. I don't understand what the. See, every show. I don't know what I just said that makes your northern just senses go batshit crazy. But you just do we need to take a break, Karissa? Do we need to go to a commercial? What the hell? Hey, boys and girls, I'd like to thank our sponsors again.
Oh my
Will probably dump me as soon as this is over. Karissa,
It just wears us damn down. It just wears us damn down like the river and the rock, like an Alabama song. So good.
I feel a little triggered right now, to be honest with you. I feel a little snowflake-ish right this
Yes.
minute. All right. Keep
Anyways.
talking about stress, but
Oh,
anyway.
I can't. So laughter.
Yeah.
Boom. Thank you for bringing that up. You're really
Yes.
game. So laughter, actually, the brains of women responds to the pleasure of laughter at 3 to 4 times the intensity than the male brain. So laughter is a beautiful way for women to relax, to de-stress, and to get in the mood.
Yeah.
It literally is like, it's, yes, for so many women, you ask them why they choose who they choose. They're like, because he makes me laugh. Because he makes me laugh. I actually took a class on health, humor, in the brain, and women love to laugh. They love it. So for couples to laugh together is huge. Okay, so stress.
I want to hold on. I want to caution all you young fellas out there if y'all watch this. I think being funny and sarcastic and learning how to use wit is important. I also want to caution you on becoming the funny guy, because that's a great way to move into the friend zone. If you're only known for humor and you don't ever let them, you're not a well-rounded person. If humor is your default, that's great sometimes. But I've seen it can actually work against you if you're getting interested with somebody and your only way of communicating is through humor. You will get compartmentalized straight into that's the funny friend of mine.
Women do that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a lot of women that'll say, "Well, I was overweight or I wasn't pretty," and again, I'm not saying that's true one way or the other. I've just heard that as a testimony. And when they say that about themselves, they'll say, "I used humor," and I think we all do that. But humor between a couple, I just heard this the other day. I had a client tell me about this, and I don't know where the research. I don't know if it's accurate or not. They said on average, I think children laugh 22 times a day. I think the average for adults is like 2 to 3 times a day.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think I heard 3. So yeah,
sad. It's so sad. So we as adults need to laugh so much more. It's like there's so many beautiful things built into laughter. Yeah. So, okay, moving on. Infertility.
Okay.
So there's so much wrapped up to infertility, right? And so oftentimes sex becomes a chore or a task to accomplish a goal when women are trying to get pregnant.
You froze up a little bit there. You say it becomes a chore, and then you froze up. Say it again, please.
So a lot of couples that are struggling to conceive, sex no longer is about connection and fun and play and pleasure. It's about just let's get me pregnant. Let's get me pregnant. Timing.
The best time is between 4 and 4:30.
Yes.
Get your ass to the house, mister.
Elevate my hips. Let's hang out. Yes.
Ready? Not now. Go. Do it now. Go. Wrap it up. Damn it. I told you to wrap it up. God darn it. Now. Okay, tonight at 9:30, you got to take another shot at it. I'm sorry. He's taking the gas station energy pills.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Don't do that. They'll make you have heart attacks. Go ahead.
Less. Okay. Trust. I want to mention this. So many times I tell women and try to coach their male partners. So your vagina is connected to your heart. So if my heart is closed off to you because I don't trust you, I don't feel safe or secure, you've hurt my feelings, I have a lot of resentment, all those kind of things, my body's going to stay shut down. A woman who's excited about her partner and feels loved and doted on and adored by her partner is usually going to show up very different sexually if everything else is taken care of than a woman who feels hurt, resentful, shut down, unsafe, used, dismissed, invalidated, disrespected, all of those things. She's going to show up very differently in her sexual encounters with her partner than a woman on the other side of that spectrum. Does that make sense, Clint?
Yeah, it does. And two, if you're in that space and you have a partner who's not very attentive, and again, they think it's going great, they don't really seem to be curious about, is it going great for you? Then it's the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because not only do I not have trust with you outside the bedroom, but every time we get inside the bedroom, you're just taking care of you now too. It's not really, you're the same person out there as you are in here. So I'm going to think about the color of the walls and did we, where's John's cleats for the game tomorrow and stuff like that.
Perfect. I'm glad you brought that up. You're like teeing me up, sir. River in the damn rock. Okay.
Damn it.
Damn it. All this
Yeah.
damn it. What the hell? We love the Lord. Okay. So let's see. Too tired. That's what it was. Too tired, too stressed, and too busy for sex. So a lot of women, because women tend to be more distractible during sex than men do. What you're just saying, thinking about Johnny's cleats for the games. What am I doing for dinner tomorrow night? What are we doing this weekend? I have to get the laundry out of the dryer, et cetera, et cetera. Women on average tend to be more distracted during sex than men do. So women really have to, I have to do a lot of coaching for both to ask the woman, what would help you to feel more engaged? And maybe it's making sure all the dishes are put up and everything, and the kids are in bed and everything's taken care of before we're intimate. Thanks, Kaylee. Um, uh, Maybe whatever. So I have to check in with women and say, what would help you to feel more present and available during sex? A lot of women, and I don't want to get too graphic, a lot of women are not engaged enough physically in the acts.
Well, I wrote 2 things down that would address this.
Okay, so a lot of women. So the other biggest complaint amongst women is the inability to orgasm in heterosex with their male partner.
Right.
So low desire and inability to orgasm are the two most common complaints for women in long-term relationships and heterosexual relationships. So many women, when I ask them what they're physically doing during the act, are not doing much, if anything at all. So they're not. Go ahead. I'll let you go first, Clint.
Nope, I won't. I'm writing it down.
Okay. Okay. So what I mean by that. So I don't know how. I want to be careful not to get too into it because I don't.
Yeah. I support that. I support that.
So if a woman's just laying there versus using her hands and other parts of her person to engage, it's going to be a different experience. Women, we have to engage our bodies. We have to. If we can't just lay there, right? We're not designed to just lay there. But a lot of women have never been taught how to go after their own pleasure. And so in culture, it's like, especially in the Bible Belt, it's girls aren't allowed to go after their own sexual pleasure because that puts a scarlet letter on their bosom. They're hussies, right? Mm-hmm. Or be a porn star. And most women don't want to be porn stars. So there's no happy medium. And so a lot of the time when I'm working with women, I'll ask them, what are you doing during this act? What positions feel better? Are you kissing? Are you talking? Is it quiet? Do you feel neglected? Do you feel tuned in? Does anything, because a lot of women are like, I just don't feel anything. I feel numb. I feel distracted. So a lot of that distractibility can be connected to a woman not knowing how to go after her own pleasure during the engagement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And the things I wrote down are some of the stuff we've already talked about, but all this kind of goes together. All these things we're talking about are these circles that have these huge overlaps because one of the things, if they're saying things like they're not orgasming and their husbands or partners are, well, a lot of that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Well, that's because in a woman's mind, it's the sex started after the last time, and you've not done anything as a guy to get her to a place where that's even an option for her. Yes. The other thing of a mindset I would think would be, well, if that guy, if he's just going to do what he does, then I'm just going to do what I do. If he's not going to go anything above and beyond, why in the hell would I? When at the end of the day, it's going to be him working for him and me working for him, and nobody seems to be working for me.
Yep.
And that's the last 2 things I said was I find a way to not be, if my partner's desires is for me to be happy and my desires for my partner to be happy, it's really hard to be distracted because now my mind is on what it's supposed to be. And dudes, if you know the maps, the erogenous zones that Chris was talking about, you can always probably help her get to the mood if you know the right turns to take. Yeah. Now, that's all I got on this topic. The rest of it's yours.
I like this. This is cute. It's like little rascal, like, sex ed. Okay. So perfect. I love you're with me with my notes. I love it. The other thing I was going to say is service sex. So many people come in saying, well, sex is just for the man. Sex is just for him. And so a lot of that is a lack of education. A lot of that can be cultural. That can have been modeled. Maybe the church taught that. Maybe that's what grandma taught me. That's what dad taught me. That's what mom taught me. Whatever. That's what all the experiences I've had with men have taught me, or females or whomever have taught me, is it's always for the other person. So that rushed sex, that service sex, that duty sex, let's just get it done so he's not in a bad mood and he's not pouting for the next week and having a temper tantrum. And lack of lubrication, that gets those couples stuck, those women stuck in that negative feedback loop of, you know what, I'm not in this. This just doesn't do it for me. I'm thinking about something else. Just hurry up and get it done and let's move on. And so for women, my whole thing is like, you have so much. There's so many parts of your body that the good Lord has designed for just pleasure. Like women we have the ability to have multiple orgasms. Men cannot do that.
Yeah, I know.
The vulva has 10,000 nerve endings. 8,000 are just in the clitoris. No other reason.
Hey, dudes, if you can't find 10,000 with a little effort, what the hell? Put some effort. Put some effort forth. There's 10,000 sitting there waiting to be doted upon, and you're just.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
That should be embarrassing. Hey, there's 10,000 nerve endings, and Bob found 2 of them. Come on, Bob. Come on, Clint. You can do better, buddy. Let's up our game a little bit, fellas.
Can you please start a school for dudes? Can you
well, I mean, again, listen. This is like everything in life. As you get older, it's because I've done a lot of it really well, and I've done a lot of it not so well. So you learn lessons from both. And anybody that says they're 100%, like I'm this. Come on now. There's been times everybody gets finished and goes, "Well, I would not sleep with me again. Damn it," And then there's times you get finished and you go, you know what? I would totally marry 5 of me right now if I could. That's the way it works sometimes.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's funny. Okay. Kathy, you go, Clint. That's what Kathy said. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Clint's the man.
All right. So you were talking about the sensory organs, 10,000 of them, and I interrupted you. But
so the duty sex thing to me is so sad and tragic. Now, obviously, there are all sorts of. So here's some other stuff that's happened. So sometimes there have been physical traumas or emotional traumas. People that come in with sexual trauma and abuse, female genital mutilation. Those are real, actual traumas that are going to have a major impact on a female's experience of sexuality. Those need to be processed and worked through in sex therapy and possibly with a physician or other medical resources. Those are real traumas that impact my ability to enjoy pleasure as a woman. But in general, women have such potential and such potency in how we've been wired to experience pleasure. It's so sad to me and tragic when women say sex is just for him, and I'm not even because I just think I'm a big picture potential what could be person. So I'm like, oh, but it could be so much more. What if it was different? What if it could be better?
Yeah, I think sometimes too, and we talked about this before we came on. Mm-hmm. If a guy, speaking from a dude's perspective, if a guy is putting forth the effort, learning, asking the questions, trying to be, then the woman, a lot of times, because they are satisfied and they know it's a happy place for them, mm-hmm. then they will be more than happy from time to time to do the air quotes service sex for them.
Yeah.
If they're like, dude, 8 out of 10 times you're really trying to, the kitchen as you're walking through and I'm doing the dishes. If that does it for you, rock on. Mm-hmm. It's when that becomes the only way you're expressing intimacy that's when they're like, really, I'm in my sweatpants all the time. I'm standing here. You just got mad at me because you didn't like something. And now,
100%.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Yeah. So one of the things that most women report enjoying the most about sex is the closeness. And a lot of men don't understand that because so much of it for men is oftentimes, at least in younger years or when testosterone is higher, is the orgasm and the release. So women don't necessarily always have to have an orgasm to enjoy sex. Sometimes they just enjoy the closeness of it or the intimacy or the sensuality of it. And they're okay.
I'm really glad you said that. A lot of times women or men will feel like there's a disappointment there. Mm-hmm. And because guys may experience this through the filter of that, they don't understand that. A lot of times we're like, mm-hmm. Really? That was okay with you? And they're like, yes, that was great. And you're like, mm-hmm. okay. And because there's 2 different filters going on there.
Yeah. So I have some women that they're like, you know what? I might orgasm every third or fourth time, and for me, it's like having a rich piece of chocolate cake, and I'm good for the next couple without it. And some women, depending on season of life and hormone levels, some women want the release. They want a lot of orgasms, and that's okay. But every person is different. So whomever it is that you're coupling with, you need to be curious about their experience and try and be open and honest in communicating with them about what brings you pleasure, what are you interested in, et cetera, et cetera. Because
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
We got age-related changes in lifestyle. So again, estrogen drives sleep and vaginal lubrication. There, again, depending on where a person's at, are they working a ton? Are they in perimenopause? Are they in postmenopause? Are they in child rearing? Are they empty nesters? Are
The
they?
empty nesters is a challenging time for relationships overall, including sex life.
Go ahead, Clint.
Well, I'm just saying it just is because I'm going through the empty nest syndrome. I am divorced, but I've also seen a lot of relationships split up. And again, sex is a part of the relationship. So I have watched men and women as they get to where their kids are getting older, because all these hard conversations you and I have talked about have been avoided for 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Now the sand's running out. The kids almost out of the house or just left. And we haven't talked about how to handle conflict. We haven't talked about your words. We haven't talked about our sex. So guess what? I'm going to go find myself. Well, really all that is I'm going to go find the stuff that I lost in this relationship somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it amazes me that and I'm not saying it's right or wrong or indifferent. It amazes me though, we spend all of our energy going to create what we want.
Yes.
Rather than trying to spend that energy on breaking down what went wrong and rebuilding from there.
Amen.
Yeah, but that's just my take on it.
No, I love it. No, some couples decide that it's worth fighting for and trying to see if they can rebuild with what was already there, and some people.
But when you have that empty nesters, there's depression that sets in. Your hormones level are changing. Think about the time between the 40s, mid 50s, when the kids are actually going.
Yep.
That's a lot of these perfect storm things we've talked about.
Yes.
Years of not having conversations, hormone and physical life stage changes.
Yep.
And I'm sad because my kids aren't around, and that was my identity. So all three of these big things are hitting at the same time. And Frank's got an ego where he just feels I'm always letting him down, and I got to massage that ego. So I'll just shut up and just go through it.
Preach.
It's kind of sad.
I think you can be a therapist. I'm going to say it every episode.
Listen, as long as I don't have to go to school, I suck at school. That's the problem with Clint.
Life coach. Those people are called life coaches.
But I guess my point is, if people are really wanting to hear real life stuff, and you see it all the time, but that's real life stuff. That really, really happens.
Absolutely.
The passing each other in a hallway, and it's awkward because there's no more noise there. Or you know what I'm saying? That is a real thing.
Yep.
That if you don't acknowledge very quick,
yep.
Like they want to catch cancer fast. You want to catch this stuff in your relationship fast. Yeah. If not, it'll eat it up.
Absolutely. No, it's a 365-day a year event. Every day you have to feed and water it.
Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's like a lot of work now that you put it that way, but keep going.
15 minutes a day.
Just now. All right, keep going. I've interrupted you.
Rude.
I am rude.
Okay.
I'm rude.
I think I've covered most of the big heavy hitters. Yes, the couples that I want women to hear: a love life at rest will remain at rest. A love life in motion will remain in motion, especially for women. The female brain and body needs to be reminded of pleasure. And so the longer women go without pleasurable sexual experiences, the longer they can choose to go. Some women will say, I could go without sex the rest of my life. That doesn't necessarily mean masturbation or orgasm. But women that are dissatisfied with sex or maybe have low desire could say, I could go without it for a long time. Or for the rest of my life. So a lot of women their brains have to be reminded, whereas men, stereotypically, the longer they go, their body literally craves it more. So that's a distinct difference between the two genders.
Okay. When you tell me when you're done, I got a handful of things I want to do fast. I want to just throw out.
Do it.
And you give me your 60-second or less spin on it. And then I'm going to end it. I'm telling you right now, I want to end it on what people can do to some tips where they should start. Okay. First of all, Here's the first topic, 60 seconds. I might even give you 90 seconds because I think some of these you're going to go on a little bit of a rant because I know you. Okay, ready?
I'm a ranter. Go ahead.
I think one of the issues we have, again, looking back on life, is we give sex away too easy and too fast. And it can become something that actually, like we talked earlier about using humor as a defense of not getting, I think sometimes we don't value our bodies when we give them away. That's especially when you're young. That's my take. Your time, ma'am.
No, I handled my sexuality very differently than most culture would say is normal.
Okay.
So I did not have sex as a young person at all. So I'm gonna handle. As far as hookup culture, I think hookup culture or the casual sex culture has done us all is disfavor correct word?
It is now.
It is today.
Yep.
Has not done us any favors in the paradigm around the value of sex and what sex is supposed to be or could be. It becomes basically masturbation with another person. And so that can only last for so long if you're missing all the emotional meat and potatoes and the relational foreplay and the mental foreplay. If it's all about, hey, you're hot and I just want to do it, it's not going to be very fulfilling very long. It's just not.
No.
It's just not. So
But,
sex.
but real quick, but hey, your hot sex from time to time, even in long term relationships, is really a good thing.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But culturally, it's kind of a. I'll try and not use the word that I've heard with it, but it's sport screwing, so to speak. It's like, hey, you're hot. Yes, Kathy, it's empty. And I think people, the human experience, even with pornography, I think people are very disenchanted with how empty it all is because there's this lust or this haze or this glasses on that's like I just have to have this, I have to have this, and then when we have it, it's like junk food.
Well, that was going to be my second topic, was because I'm throwing topics out. Second topic was porn, because me and you have talked a lot about how, from a non-therapeutic, I'm not a therapist. I will just say this. If you're 18, because when I was 18, if I wanted to see anything pornographic, I had to watch The Fuzz on HBO and see if I could see a boob or something in between the fuzz because we didn't have HBO. Or you get a peek at a magazine somewhere that somebody left laying around. But it wasn't attached the ability, the access to it. And if you're 18 and your idea comes from watching porn, then you're going to hate yourself in the shower. And you're also going to think that there's this is what sex and intimacy is. And that is going to be a horrible unmet expectations.
What do you want me to say to that? Because I agree with you.
I don't know. I don't know. You say something.
So one of the things we talked about this last weekend in class is that research is showing there are more and more incidences of reported violence during sex because of mainstream porn being the educator for young men and women. So more men acting abusively or aggressively in sexual encounters, choking, those kind of things without consent because of how porn is their understanding of what sex is supposed to be. So I will always be anti-porn. I work with people around pornography usage, and I will try not to push that on into anybody. My own experience, my experience in the field, what I believe research tells us, I think porn will always cause damage, and it will always leave us feeling wanting. It will never be fulfilling. It will always steal away from what the good Lord has ultimately designed for a couple to experience. I think it's a thief.
Yeah. Well, and two, if you watch porn and it becomes that's your stimulation. It's almost like a gateway drug. Because what's next? You watch this porn, then that ends up becoming, you're desensitized to it. So I've got to go to the next level. And then I look over at my wife or partner, and they're not any of these 5 levels. I've had to ratchet up what turns me on. And now all of a sudden, again, that goes to that performance issue. Maybe a lot of that erectile dysfunction people are having, or a lot of the low sex drive comes from, well, I'm 28. I've been watching this since I was 18. Nothing in real life turns me on.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I could talk for hours about it. I think it's destructive, and I wish people would stop watching it.
All right, here we go. The third one, and then I'm gonna hand it to you real quick. Words. How important are our words we use before we get to the bedroom and in the bedroom? I think sometimes guys don't understand that.
So this is what's fun as a Christian. The Song of Solomon in the Old Testament is one of the poetical books. Incredibly erotic.
Yeah.
Incredibly erotic. And he talks about, I think it was, I don't know if it was Jimmy Evans or no, it wasn't Jimmy Evans. A different Texas pastor talked about that man had that woman so turned on by the end of his dialogue about her, she was ready to rip his clothes off. She was the sexual aggressor and she was the sexual pursuer because he started from her head with his words of adoration and worked all the way down to her toes. And then by the end, she was like, she's wet and horny and let's go. So words, there. Did that
You
get
just,
your attention?
you just,
I took
just take that robe off, mister.
yeah,
Take that
yeah,
toga off. Yeah.
absolutely. So I think words, scripture over and I love words. That's my number one love language. So I believe in the power of them. They speak life or death. We speak things into existence. We speak blessings and curses over ourselves. I tell people to pray over their bedrooms. I tell people to pray over their homes, over their offices, over their sex life. God absolutely cares about your sex life. So words are so powerful. How I adore you with my words, how I love on you with my words, what I bathe you with in my words, absolutely is gonna open your heart and your body and your spirit up to me, or it's gonna shut you down.
Can you there can be fine lines of overkill on here too, right? I
Sure.
mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, and I'll just, this is why I think going to see somebody like Karisa, first go see your doctor or see a doctor and then see, after Karisa tells you to. But I think forgiveness, grace, and mercy about things that have happened really become barriers. It's hard for me to relax in your arms if I am pissed off and not forgiving you for what you calling my aunt the drunk person at the party the other night. That, you know what I'm saying? I'm also like, all of a sudden I'm ballroom dancing and I'm very rigid and there's no closeness there because I've not extended grace and mercy.
So one of the first things to go is physical contact for women because our bodies and our hearts are connected. Our bodies and our hearts are connected. Our bodies and our hearts are connected. I'm going to say that until the day I die. This and everything else is all connected for us as women. We don't do compartments very well. So that being said, if I have anything stored up against my person or I don't trust something about where my partner's head is at, where their heart is at, etc., I'm going to naturally retreat. You want to move towards me for a kiss? Get away from me. Don't touch me. No, I don't want to look at you. I'm mad at you.
Or it'll be a stiff kiss. You'll get a kiss, but it's the peck. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But it's all connected. It's all and actually, Penner's, Cliff and Joyce Penner, there's some incredible sex therapists out in LA that trained me in the field. They talk about how kissing, according to the research, is actually a barometer for the passion and the emotional health of a couple.
Oh.
So what kind of kissing you and your partner are doing regularly gives us a lot of data about the health of you two as a couple.
Yeah. Again, I think this is because this is leading me into the big question of what do we need to do? Where would people start? Because how do you start these conversations seems to be easy to say and very difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
Because I've known couples, to be honest with you, that have been together for a couple years and they won't even talk about, they don't even really like how the other person kisses. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh my God. I'm like, you got to say something, man. You can't live the next 50 years of your life if she's always, leaning to the left and you want to lean to the left.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you like this kind of tongue and she doesn't, or vice versa. Or absolutely.
But think about that. If we can't have honest conversations about kissing without worrying about hurting you, how am I supposed to talk to you all of a sudden about I have not orgasmed in 5 years and I watch Aquaman for a reason. So,
Jason. Yes.
Stop it. All right. So I guess that's my question. First of all, where are some starting places? Are there exercises to do? Yeah. And can you just agree with me that those are very difficult conversations just to sit down and go, hey, how's your roast beef? And by the way, I'd like to talk about intercourse.
It's all about meat at that point. So.
Oh, look at you. So seriously, how do we get to that?
Well, that's a good question. So there are, if you don't want to come see a therapist that might coach you and give you the language to start using, there are plenty of like decks of card conversations that Dr. Gottman shares, or there's
deck of cards.
Deck of cards. So it's like a laminated deck of cards, and you can pull up questions about your love life, about your friendship, about your marriage, etc. And they'll naturally be prompts. There's a book called Celebration of Sex by Dr. Doug Rosenhow. He has a whole workbook that gives couples questions and prompts about how to talk about their love life. There's a deck of cards called The Skin Deep that a lot of people have invested in. There's a couples workbook that you can get off of Amazon. It's written by a marriage and family therapist out in California. It's 30 different topics that couples can talk about that address 30 different areas of their marriage or relationship. Beautiful. There's plenty of resources out there that provide question prompts for a couple to sit down and try and navigate, even one a day.
And if that intimidates you, because if you're not in a good place, playing that deck of cards game may be a little troublesome.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I want to play a deck of cards and this stream
Right.
of consciousness with somebody that I don't like right now,
Then
because
usually
we're going to have an argument.
let's go talk to somebody. Let's go talk to a pastor, a therapist, a life coach. We need to get somebody involved in this conversation.
Have you ever, as part of therapy, have you ever sat down with a couple and gone through the deck of card game with them at all? Or is that something you don't do because you have other stuff?
Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, I was just asking, or do you not do that?
No, some couples won't do it. So I'll say, that's fine. We'll use your hour and your $100 here, and I'll coach you on how to do it on my couch. And then eventually you'll want to go home and do it on your couch. So I'll just start asking questions. I'll say, here, I need you to ask her this question. Now ask him this question.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder you're tired. I have to walk your dogs 12 times a day.
Right. Some couples literally don't know how to sit and be still with each other. They just don't. There's so much in between them, metaphorically and emotionally. They're like, I don't even want to look you in the face. That's true. That happens. So
I've got a good barometer for this. I think if you're with somebody and they will never watch a movie that you pick out, that's a problem. I think that is a good indicator.
What if your movie taste sucks?
Listen, you should be able to watch a crappy movie on my behalf every damn now and then. And if you're not, you're probably a pretty selfish lover. That's what
as long as it's not pornography.
There you go. That's called setting a boundary, and I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, I'm going to give you the floor because I want to make sure you say it in your own words because I kind of stole your thunder at the beginning.
Oh, you did awesome. You did
well, but we started this saying I wanted you to make sure one of the things you wanted to do was make sure that women knew they weren't broken.
Yes.
Because this was mostly centered around women and their issue on their challenges. So say that in your own words and then make sure everybody knows how to find you.
Okay. So if you decide that I might be a helpful resource, you can Google my name, Karisa Kaye. You can reach out to me on my website, on email, send me a message. Be happy to give you a call. And you were saying big picture, what was I hoping this would accomplish?
I just want to make sure that you get to say it in your own words. And by the way, her website is iloveintimacy.com. iloveusintimacy.com.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I'm going to put the link in the comments here so people can go find it. But your main goal of this, when we started, you told me was I want to make sure women know they're not broken.
Yes, because if this is the number one presenting concern for women over 35 to sex therapists, thanks, Clint. If this is the number one concern being presented, it needs attention. I think it's so tragic and unnecessary for all of these people to be unhappy, some are literally suffering with it unnecessarily, when I know and have experienced that you as a woman make sense. And unless you decide, hey, I'm totally asexual and I want nothing, then okay, then you can get to that point. Maybe I'm just an asexual human. Some people decide they are asexual, and that's fine. But if you're not, and it's a myriad of these other variables that are at play and not being addressed, things could get better, and you don't have to sit with this forever. Life could be richer. You could have a more enriched, extravagant love life. You could be more fulfilled. You could have more pleasure and joy. How awesome could that be?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job today.
Thanks, Clint.
Well done.
You're basically a sex therapist, a life coach, and a marriage therapist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've got it. I got all the answers. I just live by myself and I don't ever have to try out any of it. So I'm good.
What
That's
did you
the
say about
secret.
the river? Like the river.
It's the river and the damn rocks.
Damn something. Damn.
All right. This is always fun. I'm glad we got to talk about this topic because I know it is a little taboo. Yeah. And I love the fact that you do approach it from a faith-based foundational place, because just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you have to live with things. God gave us a brain and God gave us resources. Kathy, thank you, Karisa and Clint. Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate you tuning in and helping us out by submitting some thoughts there. All right, Karisa Kaye, you ready to roll?
Clint Powell, do you have anything else before we wrap up?
I have nothing at all.
Are
this
you
has
sure?
been fantastic. I'm absolutely sure. But thank you for checking Thank you for checking with me, Karisa.
My pleasure.
Hey,
my pleasure.
Dig those earrings.
Dig your face.
Well, thank you. Talk to you later. Bye, Karisa Kaye.
Thank y'all.
Bye, everybody.